From paralegal in 2010 to strategic HR business partner now in 2025, here we go what I've learned about career planning, career changes, navigating the world of work, understanding different workplaces, sectors and industries, as well as making the most of my transferable skill set. In this video, I will share my own thought process and experience, steps I put in place in order to change my career focus and experience from law to human resources or HR. So let's rewind. In 2010, I got my first role as a paralegal, earning just £13,000 a year. Bear with me. I worked for a small employment law practice, and at the time I had no experience, just ambition and willingness to learn. It was as simple as that. It was a very small law firm, unable to pay me quite a lot, even though at that time salaries for legal assistants or paralegals in 2010 were in the region of £15,000 to £18,000 a year. This is outside London. In London, in around 2010, you would be looking at around 20 to 25, maybe £28,000 a year for a legal assistant or paralegal job. I was focused on employment law, which gave me a real interest in how workplaces function, especially around policies, disputes, and employees' rights. But I'll be honest, the role was very much administrative. You are there to support with paperwork, lots of photocopying, and making tea for more experienced people around you, which I didn't mind. Learning was great on the other hand. I would read all sorts of files, paperwork. I really learned a lot about formal terminology, emails, responding to emails, preparing for meetings, taking notes, having different interesting phone calls. I was really learning a lot about how to work, how to review things. I overall felt I did really well and I learned quite a lot. And also at the same time, I met lots of HR professionals who would be the clients of this particular law firm. I then started to speak to them, started to ask about their roles, what worked for them, how come they ended up in HR, and that really sparked an interest in this whole new world I actually wasn't fully aware of at that time as a quite young person. After about 2.5 years, I started to notice the shift and my own thought process about how I felt about law and whether I really wanted to invest any more time and spend additional money on more qualifications that you just simply have to do as part of the qualifying period. I was a lot more interested in the people behind the cases than the legal arguments themselves. I found myself asking questions such as why did this conflict happen in the first place? What could they have put in place in order for this not to happen? How could the workplaces have handled this better and differently? And then I realized that law is quite passive and reactive. You wait for these kind of challenges and issues to happen. You then step in, try and settle the case, or the case may go to court, and then eventually that's the end of that process. I started to become a lot more interested in the proactive side, getting involved and preventing some cases from taking place. So I actually didn't realize at that time, but I was already thinking like an HR business partner just from a legal angle. And that's when I had my little light bulb moment about HR, trying to qualify as an HR professional and transition to HR. I knew that I could use employment law knowledge and experience and understanding how to apply it to real life situations would work really well for me. So I changed my CV completely. I really emphasized the knowledge and application of employment law quite clearly. I also decided to do some of the early HR qualifications. And for those of us in the UK, there is a qualification called CIPD Level 3. CIPD stands for Chartered Institute for Personnel Development, which is the HR Institute for the UK professionals. It was a fairly cheap course that I finished fairly quickly, and that gave me some sort of foundations around understanding HR terminology, acronyms, and what HR was all about at a very low level. There is another reason as to why I decided law really wasn't for me. I don't know if you know how solicitors or lawyers really work, but you have to have clients, you have to get new clients, you are going to have an hourly rate, you have to make so much money per month. If you don't, you get penalized for that. I just realized that really wasn't for me. I didn't want to have financial targets attached to me, to my performance. I didn't want to feel that kind of pressure. This is the beauty of having that work experience. I do encourage everyone to get that work experience and spend a week or a couple of weeks alongside those people you are thinking about doing their jobs. It really will give you lots of insights and give you the real world of work for you to make some informed decisions if that perhaps option is for you you or not. So I decided to update my CV, really focus on my key transferable skill set, which would be employment law, understanding workplace conflicts, issues, HR policies and procedures. I understood case law, guidance that organizations would need to follow from the case law and judgments, and also decided to put on my CV I was working towards the CIPD level 3 qualification. Clearly, at the time of my applications at that time, I didn't finish it. I was working towards that qualification. So if you're overthinking, oh, I don't have these qualifications finished, I can't start applying, you can simply put on your CV you're working towards X qualification. This is when I started it, due to finish at some point. That also counts, and it will look quite positively for any recruiters or managers looking to shortlist you, at least to have a conversation about what's going on your end and what made you apply for that particular position. So it took me about 9 months to land my first HR role. I was actively applying to all sorts of HR roles, HR assistants, advisors, administrators. It just was a really difficult gig. This was back in end of 2011, early 2012. So it was quite difficult for me to have that transition. But I firmly believed that there would be an organization that would benefit from my knowledge and skill set. And I was really lucky to land my first role as an HR associate, working in the HR function, working alongside quite international HR professionals. And the main reason I believe at that time I got the role was that they wanted someone with strong UK employment law knowledge, so that they didn't have to go to law firms to get that basic employment law advice, which would cost them a lot of money. So by having me in-house, by paying me my annual salary, that would save them a lot of time. And also at the same time, they would have someone full-time working for them in-house that they could ask all sorts of questions. When I started, that was pretty much the focus of my role, as well as reviewing policies and procedures and really understanding what was going on when it comes to their workplace cultures, what kind of conflicts they dealt with, and also the capability of managers to lead and manage people. So quite quickly, I realized that part of my role started to have elements of upskilling managers, helping them understand policies and procedures, working alongside them, helping them understand the case law, the way best practice works in the UK, how the employees' rights have changed over time as well, which I really enjoyed. It was a really great time for me to apply some of the learned knowledge and also work with real managers, real organizations, and I really started to enjoy the benefits of that. And at that time, I remember thinking and feeling that I made the good decision, and also at the same time my salary doubled, so that was the extra bonus as well. Whilst I was employed by this organization, I decided to get qualified even higher in HR. So for those of us in the UK, there is a qualification called level 7, which is labeled as postgraduate diploma in HR management, also CIPD qualification. So that was something I was working towards, and that gave me an insight into more strategic topics that I would need to be mindful of. Because I was working and dealing with real workplace problems and challenges alongside business leaders and managers, that really worked quite well and complemented the theoretical side of HR that you often experience as part of studying HR. If you are doing these additional qualifications, it's actually quite complementary to work full-time, have a job, understand the real workplace context and challenges, and then when you apply theory over that, things just start to make a lot more sense than when you perhaps study HR full-time without understanding the real organizational challenges. So over time, I've qualified and become HR business partner. I've worked for a number of large organizations in different sectors and industries. I was able to really learn as to what's the purpose of the HR functions, how they can be set up differently. If you're interested in becoming the HR business partner or looking to elevate your role and become even better HR business partner, I would like to mention that I run the Expert HR Business Partner Academy. These are weekly sessions taking place every Saturday and Sunday. I'll attach a link down below for you to to read, you can join for a very small monthly subscription and be part of a very small international community. It started to feel like we are working together already. We are going through technical topics. We are doing lots of case study analysis. We are actually learning how to apply some of the tools and toolkits and ways of working that perhaps you wouldn't learn in your more traditional course that we get in colleges and universities. If you would like to come along as a guest and see what this is all about before you sign up, let me know and I'll include you in one of the sessions. To drop me a line and then we'll get in contact. I also issue weekly newsletters talking about all sorts of interesting situations I find myself in my workplace, which resonates with a number of people. I do suggest you subscribe if you want to stay in contact. Link is down below as well. If you've liked this video, there are many other similar ones on my channel, so I'll see you in the next one.